Way out world. What strange satellite circles the visible edge of the solar system? The detonation of a single nuclear bomb can do catastrophic damage. So imagine the power of more than one bomb, not just 2 or 10 or even 10 million, but 10 billion. Astronomers have evidence that a collision with enough force to equal the explosion of 10 billion nuclear bombs once happened in the solar system. Out of that crack up was born one of the oddest things in space. Its name is Haumea. There is so much to learn about this newfound object, and we keep finding surprises, says Mike Brown, an astronomer at the California Institute of Technology. It's just crazy. Oddballs. The solar system is always changing. What astronomers know about it is changing even faster. Advances in telescope technology keep deepening their view of space, continually revealing new objects and new features on old objects. One example of that change in perspective is Pluto. For more than 70 years, astronomers considered it the ninth planet. Then, in 2007, the International Astronomical Union reclassified it as a dwarf planet. Like a dwarf planet orbits the Sun. It also has enough mass and therefore enough gravity to give it a rounded shape. But it lacks pull. Its gravity isn't strong enough to clear its neighborhood of most smaller objects the way that planets do. A year later, Pluto is reclassified again. Now it's a Plutoid. A Plutoid is simply a dwarf planet that exists beyond Neptune, the eighth planet. As of 2011, four known dwarf planets are Plutoids. Pluto, Eris, and Makemake are three. The fourth, discovered by Brown shortly after Christmas 2004, was originally called Santa. That name seemed less appropriate, however, the more that scientists learned about it. Haumea was a better fit. Haumea is the mother goddess of Hawaii, whose many children sprang from various parts of her body. The Plutoid Haumea is trailed by a swarm of small icy bodies that once were a part of it. Haumea also has a distinctive spin and shape. It rotates once every 4 hours, 6 times faster than Earth does. That's the fastest spin rate of any major object in the solar system. When an object in space rotates that rapidly, it stretches the way pizza dough does when it's tossed and twirled in the air, says Brown. Haumea's quick spin has given it an oblong shape that looks like a squished football, he adds. The same effect is at work on Earth, but because Earth turns less quickly, it bulges only slightly at its equator. In addition to the icy debris that trails Haumea, a pair of icy moons orbit it. Called Hikaya and Namaka, the moons were named after two of the goddess Haumea's mythical daughters. Blast off. A fast rotation, a squash shape, two moons, and icy debris. How does it all add up? Brown believes that Haumea was once larger than it is today, composed half of rock and half of frozen water. Sometime between 3.5 billion and 4.5 billion years ago, Haumea was involved in a collision with another object. The impact released the energy equivalent of 10 billion nuclear bombs exploding. It blasted the two icy moons and the chunks of smaller icy debris off Haumea and accelerated its spin rate. Today, says Brown, Haumea resembles an orbiting M&M candy, a small rocky object covered in a thin shell of ice. The Haumea collision wasn't the only crack up in the solar system's early history. Astronomers believe that a Mars-sized object called Philae smashed into the young Earth some 4.5 billion years ago. The impact ejected chunks of rock into space that gradually accreted or fused to form an orbiting satellite with enough gravity to require a round shape and become the moon. The still existing debris around Haumea promises to reveal more about the process of what happens when the worlds collide, says Brown. As old as Haumea is, its story is far from over. The enormous gravity of Neptune could one day throw Haumea like a boomerang through our solar system. At that point, it will become a comet that burns as brightly as the full moon when it passes Earth. When might that happen? Maybe a billion years from now, says Brown. So you have a little bit of waiting to do, he says.